Hey, what's up, yo? It's Noka2 coming at you with a new comic haul. Um, I initially thought I would do this video right after my last one, but got tied up. So, um, I'm just going to get to it. I got a lot of books to show. Um, First of all, as always, I want to thank everyone who's taken their time to watch my videos and leave a comment. I appreciate that. I do have fun doing these videos, and therefore I am going to continue. So, during my last video, I talked about going to a couple of sales, Free Comic Book Day, where all back issues that were $1 are now 50 cents. And then a few weeks later, I went to another sale that was a customer appreciation, where all the books are 30 cents. So these books are majority from that sale, one of those sales. If I can remember the 30 or 50 cent, I'll say so. They're all the books are in near mint condition unless I otherwise state. So this issue here, Blue Devil #1, I got 3 copies of for 30 cents. One newsstand copy. These are all in high grade. Um, when this comic first came out, I started collecting from issue 1 on through, and it was a good series. It had comedy in it, kind of had a comedic flair to it. I started getting this series because of the 16-page preview they had in New Teen Titans, and so those previews work. I wish some of the publishers would do that now, but I don't think they have to because a lot of ongoing series people just buy the first issue to start it out. But that was what made me buy Blue Devil. The entire series itself isn't worth anything. It's not got a lot of value, but #1 and then the first preview in Teen Titans has a little bit of value, maybe $10 tops on a good day, because of his. I think he's in what Justice League Dark, but good. It's a good story. It's a good read. I thought. I got this book for no particular reason other than that it was in high grade. I don't know anything about this character. Haven't read it, but it was a Bronze Age comic for 5 cent above cover price, 30 cents. So I picked that up. Stalker, Beware the Man with the Stolen Soul. Um, Spitfire #1 from the New Universe line by Marvel for 30 cents. Superboy #0. Anytime I see this for real cheap, I'll pick it up if it's in high grade. Near mint. First cameo appearance of Killer Shark. Now about this comic, because one, it was 30 cents, but two, because it's a reprint of Amazing Spider-Man 252, one of the first appearances of the black costume in ongoing series. Obviously, Secret Wars was the first was considered the first appearance, but this is the reprint that came with the Toy Biz toys that used to be in these huge bubble packages that was an environmental waste. And this cover, as you can tell, has a black border. Now, I have this original action figure, and I also have a copy of this comic. And, this is in near mint. There's no spine ticks in this black border on the spine. Amazing Spider Man was one of Marvel's most popular titles, and it probably has a huge print run. I wouldn't be surprised if it was in the 150 to 200,000. But this comic here, I don't think they made 100,000 action figures. So this is probably a little bit more scarce than the actual comic, and so for 30 cents, I'm picking that up all day. I'd pick that up for $1 or even $2 actually. The Incredible Hulk 419, which is the first full appearance of Talos the Tame. His first cameo appearance is in 418 with the wedding of Rick Jones. This character, his appearances, first appearance and this appearance, did peak a little after the Captain Marvel movie because he's in that movie, and then it died down after the movie, which I didn't really enjoy too much of Captain Marvel. Probably the only MCU movie that I would probably give a C rating to. But he reappears in, spoiler alert, Spider-Man Far From Home at the end, which repeaked the interest in this character because now he's been in 2 MCU movies, and so there's speculation he's going to continue to be a player in the movies based on the Easter egg at the end of the movie. So these appearances have started to pick up some heat again. Now, Spider-Man Far From Home just was a great movie. I thought it was a really good movie, well done. I took my son to see it, which is his first Marvel movie besides Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales movie. And he really liked it, and so he wants to see the first one, which we have on Vudu. But for 30 cents, I picked that up again. I've got a couple of copies of that already, and I've shown that on previous videos. Uncanny X-Men. This is one of those gimmick covers from the 90s. Prism. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can tell that. It's kind of on a cardstock, and because of the foil and also the square bound spine, I think comics at this time was probably about $1.50 or $1.25, and so it was a $3.95 anniversary extra page issue, and 93 is when it came out. 93. Sometimes this comic can be found in the wild, and usually it's all beat up with bends in the spine because it doesn't take much to bend the spine on this. So when I saw this for 30 cents in near mint condition, I have multiple copies of this. I picked it up. 52 week 12, the first appearance of Adriana Tomas as the new Isis. And so that's probably a $10 book. X-Men #1, first appearance of X-Men. Got these 2 issues here. The first and second appearance of Barracuda of the Punisher. This Tim Bradstreet, I think that's his name, Bradstreet, covers on the Punisher Max series were fantastic. He had some really iconic, in my opinion, covers. And whenever I see the first appearance of Barracuda in this high grade condition for cheap, probably $1 or less, I'd probably pick it up. I'd probably buy this issue for as high as maybe $2 or $3. The second issue I only picked up again because it was 30 cents. They had a couple more issues of they didn't have the complete run 1 through 6, so I only picked up 1 and 2. Spawn #50 for 30 cents. No particular significance about this because it was issue #1. It was the milestone line of DC. I don't know when this came out, but there was quite a few. This one, Static Shock came out. Hardware, Icon, they came out in that line, and this is supposed to be Zombie, I think, with an X. Now I got this issue here. I have multiple copies of this already, and this is Green Lantern 54. I think this is volume 2, and this is when that character here, Major Force, he kills Kyle Reiner's girlfriend, dismembers her, and stuffs her in the fridge, which is a pretty violent scene. Now, they don't actually in the comic show him dismembering her, but they do show him strangling her, and then they show a scene when Kyle Reiner comes home, opens the fridge, and you can see her body, parts of her body have been shoved into this refrigerator, which I think is a pretty violent episode, series of panels for non-mature reader comic. I'm surprised it got through their editorial process for a regular comic. Usually you would see something like that in Image or Epic or Vertigo, but not in a regular comic. So I picked that up. I think that's a kind of a semi-spec book, and these both were near mint, and they were only 30 cents, so I was definitely picking it up. This is a comic that I didn't know existed. This is the Avengers, the relaunch by George Perez and Kurt Busiek. This is the second issue variant cover, and so, you know, I didn't even know it existed, and I picked it up. That was a great relaunch by those two, and I love George Perez. He's one of my favorite artists. Now this issue here, Sleepwalker #1. This issue is only probably in fine condition, maybe a 6.0. There's multiple spine ticks in it, but otherwise intact. It's actually pretty crispy white interiors, and on the cover, it's just got all these spine ticks. And this came out, in 91, and is a representation of what almost stopped me from collecting comics altogether. So back then, funds were limited. I was in between college and professional school, and so my funds were limited as I was saving up to go to the next level of education. And I bought this book, never even read. Maybe I read it or I didn't read it, but I didn't think the art was very good, and I didn't like the story at the time, and so I started dropping lots of titles because I was buying stuff that was like, oh, this is crazy. Marvel making all these dollar comic or new titles, Fool Killer, Sleepwalker. I'm like, this is nonsense. And there was like all these limited series coming out. Then this is when Marvel this is when they got went crazy with their gimmicks, and so I stopped this title. Now, the near mint copy of this book is probably $20. So now, anytime I see it for cheap, I pick it up. I don't have many. I have multiple copies of #1 now, but not much of the series. So for 30 cents, I picked that up. #7. Another gimmick copy, #25, Prism cover, near mint. It's funny is that CBSI just recently did a blog about gimmicks from the 90s, and I had already purchased this comic, so when I saw it on there, I was like, oh yeah, I have that comic. I just got that comic. And this is a mask that you can punch out, just epitomizes the gimmicks of the 90s, where you punch out this, say your mouth and your eyes, and there's a couple holes to put a string through and make a wearable mask. So this is a start cardstock cover, and it's in pretty crisp, shape, near mint, crisp corners. And this again was 30 cents, and I bought it mainly because of the cover and the novelty of it. I don't know if I'm going to try to get multiple, the whole series of Sleepwalker or not. And then I got #26. I bought another copy of New X-Men #134, first appearance of Kid Omega. Oh, I can't remember if I said what this book is. This book here is, I like to leave something up for people to look at. And this is the back of Marvel Age #54. that was promoting the wedding of Peter Parker and Mary Jane. And this back cover is done by Bill Sienkiewicz. And, there were two covers to that annual, Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 21, the wedding of those two. One with Peter Parker and one with Spider-Man. And I thought this back cover was a beautiful rendition by Bill Sienkiewicz. If this comic came out today, there would have been 50 different variant covers, like Batman number 50. There would have been all kinds of covers for this, but I believe there were only two covers for that title, for that issue. So I thought I'd leave that up there for people to see. Marvel Knights number 1. This was 30 cents. Here's a second printing of the New Warriors. Back then, the way comics were sold to shops, etc., there just weren't a lot of second printings because the shops ordered tons and tons of comics, which is why the industry almost went under back in the 90s. But when they did do a second printing of certain books, they put a gold kind of foilish, I wouldn't say it's foil, it's just goldish color to the comic, a homage to Uncanny X-Men Giant Size number 1, New Warriors. I didn't have a gold second printing. I've got multiple copies of number 1, the original that's black, but that was my first. So actually, anytime I see gold second printings, I pick it up. There's several that they did. I have another one for this video, Ghost Rider, Fantastic Four, Punisher, New Warriors. There's quite a few. I think I may have all of the... Oh, New Mutants 87. I think I may have all of the second print gold covers somewhere. Picked this up on Speculations. Dark Horse, as everyone knows, their publishing rights for TV movie production was purchased by Netflix. And with the success of Umbrella Academy, I picked this book up on Speculation, the first appearance of X, Dark Horse number 8. I didn't buy this book when it first came out. I wasn't even aware of it at the time, but I've been trying to get a little bit of a run on it, and I'm starting to. This is Haunt number 1 by McFarlane and Kirkman, and Greg Capullo does some interior art also. They did have multiple variant covers for issue number 1. This is the first cover. Great artwork. I've shown several before. That's number 1 and number 2. They can go for some money at times, but I don't know. But it's not this cover. There's the other chase covers for the variants for number 1 that are a little bit more valuable, but definitely worth more than 30 cents. So at this number 9 of Batman Beyond, run filler for me, all new Wolverine number 12. This book was kind of interesting. I'd never seen this before, and so I picked it up not really knowing what it was, and then when I got it home, I opened it up, and it's actually kind of a cool book. This is Marvel Spotlight on Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Now, I wish I would have found this a long time ago when these two creators were alive, because it would have been a cool book to get signed. And I've looked on the internet. I haven't seen one that has their signature. It would have been cool to get Jack Kirby up there and Stan Lee down here. But the interior is mainly done like the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. There's like a bio on each one of these guys, and there's some clips of their artwork and some background information, an interview. I think this must be post mortem for Jack Kirby because I think his wife has an interview in that. But this is a great tribute comic to them, and I'd never seen it before, so I picked that up. Got this for 30 cents. There's a period of Amazing Spider-Man that I did not collect. Is in the late 300s and the early 400s. Mainly because I wasn't a big fan of Mark Bagley's artwork. And again, this was a time when my funds were diverted for other things. So, this comic here, I think it's been shown before. I don't see it shown a lot. I can't remember who's shown this book before. I know I've seen it. Someone else has talked about this book. But I don't see it talked about very often. So I thought I'd show it again. I picked this up for 70 cents. I just came back from vacation with the family, and I visited several comic shops in the area. And I went to a comic shop that had dollar bins, and if you bought 15 comics, you get it for $10 or $1 each. And then if you could get 25 for a little bit bigger discount, but I really only I actually found 16 books, and he still gave it to me for $10. This comic here had a little controversy around it, and Marvel got sued because of it, because this picture of this woman here that's supposed to be a vampire is Amy Grant. I mean, this is Photoshop from her album cover that came out that year, or maybe the year before, and was placed in the background without her permission. And if you don't know who Amy Grant is, she is a Christian singer, and so she did not, one, agree for her photo to be used, and two, she did not like being associated with the undead and vampires and, all the association with the undead and vampires. I'm not sure what Jackson Guise was thinking when he did that. I don't know if he had an infatuation with her or he didn't like her or what. But, I mean, this is like Greg Horn to, extreme, right? I mean, at least some of the other artists that have a reputation of taking, photos and kind of adapting it to art, their drawings, which, everybody's aware of. I mean, this is just a point blank. If you find the album cover, boom, that's the exact image, except it's not in red, obviously. So I thought that this is kind of I don't want to say a speculation book, but this was a near mint copy. It's got a black border. This is in crisp near mint shape. It'll never be reprinted because of the lawsuit. If they ever reprint this book, it's going to have a different cover. There are other comics where there's, errors in it, and, action comics with Superman holding the beer bottle. Obviously, it gets photoshopped out to just a regular drink. And then, there's been a lot of videos about Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise where they take out a panel. Most recently, X-Men Gold with the anti-Semitism drawings by the artist there, which, he was fired as he should have been. That was removed. This kind of thing is always present in comics, and this was a prime example. But I think to a bigger extent of all the others, a lot of the other issues that get reprinted, it's kind of maybe a small issue or a panel or something in the, wording. But, I mean, this is such a big, glaring injustice that when I see that for cheap, I pick it up. I actually got one at the 30-cent sale, which I haven't found to bag yet, that it's finding out, it's kind of like a lot of you guys. I think when you're on a hunt for a comic, you find it, and the next thing you know, another one snaps and falls into your lap. How about this comic, Magic Order, number 4? I didn't know if I had that comic or not. I thought I may have or may not have this cover. I think each issue had a variant cover, same ratio, and so I picked it up because it was 70 cents. Picked up another copy of Legionnaires number 7. This is like my 5th copy, Adam Hughes. Similar to that Doctor Strange. Legionnaires number 13 I'd been looking for a long time in the wild. Adam Hughes cover. And then I bought that on a recent trip for work, maybe 2 weeks ago, for $1.75. And then lo and behold, I found another one for 70 cents. And then the last issue of Legionnaires that I didn't have by Adam Hughes was number 14. So now I have his entire run. Well, he didn't really have a run. He had 4 issues of covers for Legionnaires. I think he did 7, 13, 14, and then he did 16. So they didn't have 16. I picked up another variant cover for Gen 13. This is cover B. As you know, there were 13 covers for issue number 1, which I'm trying to collect. This is the thumbs up cover. And I think this is still J. Scott Campbell. Some of the other covers are done by different artists. I think I have maybe 8 of the variant covers. I'm just trying to get the first issue in all the variants. 3 of the ones that I don't have are the more pricey ones, and I'm not trying to buy them on eBay. I think maybe I'd buy it on eBay if it's the last issue that I need of the 13. But the 3 that I'm missing, that I know I'm missing, that are a little bit more pricey, are the ones where Fairchild's in lingerie. That's called the lingerie cover. Then there's one where Fairchild is it's a homage to Janet Jackson's cover, where she's got her a man's hands on covering her breast, and she's otherwise nude with her arms up. And then there's a kind of a cosplay with a model being Fairchild that is a homage to the Pulp Fiction movie poster by Uma Thurman, where she's laying on the ground. There's been multiple homages to that. She-Hulk has one too. So slowly whittling down that run. This was also a 70-cent issue. G.I. Joe number 2, the Image run by J. Scott Campbell. I have number 1. I didn't know if I had number 2. I have a few of his issues. I'm just trying to collect his first few issues of the Image run with J. Scott Campbell's covers. So I think I'm going to end there. I don't like my videos to be terribly long, but that's my haul for today. Hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate it. We'll catch you later.